who was actually much older than me, a Vietnam vet, who he schooled me in some of the finer arts of how to remove a steering lock from a car with a dent puller, and how to break into homes. And whenever anyone locks their keys in their car at my church, they call Pastor Doug. And that's the truth. So I was a thief, and what's really ironic, Don, is at the same time I managed to get another job as a security guard.
A security guard while a thief?
Well, 16 years old. I had a driver's license that said I was 18. That was, of course, forged, but I used the forged one to get a real driver's license that said I was 18. That made me eligible to get a job working for business intelligence as a security guard. So I'm guarding places at night, and I was stealing during the day.
What a life.
Because if you steal a TV during the day, people think you're moving. In the middle of the night, you look suspicious. So when people went to work, we were watching homes, and we just, right out in the open, we'd take things out. And in Boston, it's a very busy city. It was easier to do that. Now, during this time, something interesting happened. I had a friend who was also a security guard who was extremely religious. And he knew about my day job. And he said, Doug, your karma is going to get you. He was into New Age Eastern religions, and there's some truth to karma. I mean, even the Bible says, with what measure you meet, it'll be measured to you again. And karma basically teaches what you do comes back. And there's some biblical truth to that. Jesus said, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So I said, there's no God, and there's no such thing as this, cosmic law that whatever you do comes back. He said, you'll see. And I said, well, I stole that television set and nothing happened. He said, well, I'm going to pray that God shows you he's real. And not long after we had that conversation, I woke up in my apartment in Boston, and my door was ajar, and I looked over and my TV was gone.
Somebody stole it.
Someone broke in and they stole my TV and my radio. And I was really mad. I'm embarrassed to say I called the police right away.
You called the police?
I did. I was indignant. I wanted them to track them down. And I know you never realize how these other people I had been robbing from must have felt. But and then I started watching, Don, and I noticed that whatever I did seemed to backfire, that there was something that could not be explained through normal law. I would steal from somebody. Most of my friends were thieves. They would then steal from me. Or I would steal something while I was high or drinking. I used a lot of my money on drugs. And I'd hide it, and then I'd sober up and forget where I had hidden it. Or I would steal something and virtually risk my life to steal a stereo, and I get back and I find out that I had stolen a totally broken stereo. It didn't even work. And I started saying, I'm not getting ahead. And what convinced me that there must be a God was a little thing, is I was at someone's home, and I stole a box of Krusty's Instant Pancake Mix. And I did
Pancake mix?
Pancake mix. And I did it because even though I'm using all of these drugs, I was a hippie and I was health conscious, and I did not want regular white pancake mix. This was the whole wheat variety. And so I said, I've got to have that because I only want whole wheat pancake mix. So I'm taking LSD and I'm drinking and I'm living a very self-destructive life, but I only want whole wheat pancake mix. So I stole this, and I remember on the top of the box it was stamped. This is before the day of the barcode. It was stamped $1.19. That same day, some friends came through my place. They took my jar of Tang instant breakfast drink, if anyone remembers that. They drank the whole thing, and when I got home, there by the empty jar was the lid that was stamped $1.19. And I looked at the pancake mix I just stole, and it said $1.19. And then I looked at the Tang that had just been stolen from me, and I thought, this is too much. I just stole this from someone, and somebody took all of mine, and it's the exact same price stamped on top. I thought, there must be a God. And that really...
Because you weren't getting ahead.
That shook me up, and I began to think, there must be a God, and so it aroused my interest in searching through the plethora of different religions out there. I quickly discounted Christianity because I thought they were all hypocrites. I channel surf and listened to them all beg for money, and I said, they're all hypocrites. And I was still prejudiced from my days at military school. where religion just seemed like something that was mandated and it wasn't heartfelt. So I got into all of these Eastern religions. My friend who had first told me about this, Jerry, the other security guard, he was into Shakti, the spiritual science of DNA. And I got into transcendental meditation and Buddhism, and I even went to a Hare Krishna temple back then because they promised a free meal. And at this time I was living on the streets. And if you went to their services, and I would jump up and down for an hour and a half and say, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I never forgot that because we did it for an hour and a half.
Hour and a half?
Hour and a half, same chant. And they only gave us yogurt and raisins for our meal, so I was very disappointed. But, I mean, I was searching all these different religions.
About this time, your dad came to apologize to you.
He had an ulterior motive, but Dad flew up to Boston, and he said, and he saw how I was living. I think it broke his heart. And he said, you know I haven't done everything perfect, but will you please give education one more chance? Because, I think you're throwing your life away. You're bright, you've got talents, but you're living like an animal. And he appealed to me to try a school that he had found.
So did you try?
Well, it sounded intriguing. It was a school on a boat, actually a pair of boats that sailed around the Mediterranean.
A yacht?
Well, a couple of big yachts and sailboats, and these were very exclusive schools. And he made it sound very attractive. But,
well, of course. I mean, who wouldn't want to go to school and sail around the world?
Well, my dad was a good salesman, so he convinced me to try this. And so...
and in a moment, we're going to find out how school went. On the yacht, I'm talking with Doug Batchelor, the richest caveman.
Baby cuddlers are people in the community who have volunteered through our volunteer program to come in and hold babies, interact with babies whose parents may not be able to come in as frequently as they'd like to provide that type of input for their babies. Some babies we might have in the cuddler program are premature babies who might be here for a long period of time, or as of late, we've had a lot of babies who have had exposure to like street drugs in utero, and they tend to be high need babies. They have a higher need for cuddling to be content. There are no real qualifications to be a cuddler other than to be a loving person who wants to share their time with the babies. These little hands down into the
I think there's a special appeal, associated with the idea of cuddling little babies. It just reaches into people's hearts and elicits that desire to express love and care for something so small and delicate.
I just want to do it. I love it. It makes me feel good, and I feel like giving back to other people.
We have both male and female baby cuddlers, and we're happy to have both, and each brings their own unique personality and characteristics to the process of cuddling a baby.
Hey, Leo. Hey, Leo. I was in this hospital last year as a patient. I wanted to give something back to the hospital. I came here to work as a volunteer. But I didn't want to leg stamps and envelopes and the typical volunteer things. I'm doing it because I get a lot of satisfaction from it. And I hopefully give a lot of satisfaction to the little ones. They need love.
I'm talking to Doug Batchelor, the richest caveman. His father had just apologized to him and begged him to go back to school. He promised him a special school, a floating school on a yacht. How did that work out?
Well, it sounded very good the way he first presented it to me. It was a pair of sailboats that had been renovated as schools that sailed together. It was called the Flint School Abroad. And they would sail around the Mediterranean and different parts of the world, and there were classes. And so Dad said, Doug, give education one more chance. He said, I will take you right now from Boston to Milan, Italy, where the boat was actually docked in Naples, but that's where we flew in. And So Dad, I don't know how he did it, but he managed to get a passport picture in 24 hours